Some people say you don't know what you have until it's gone. But in reality, for a lot of people, they knew what they had, but they never thought they'd lose it. And because of that, they become comfortable. And that starts to create a dynamic where people take advantage, where people are not doing their part anymore and become lackadaisical in a relationship. And so what a lot of women have experienced, people in general, but we're focusing on the women right now, is this dynamic where the man starts to care when she stops. When she starts to pull away, that's when he wants to step up. And to some extent, that might be like, well, at least he's finally stepping up. But on the other side, it's like, well, why does it take that? Why must we get to that point? And unfortunately, for a lot of women, when she gets to that point, she's become very emotionally checked out. So now, even if he tries, she may not have the energy to keep trying with him. But let me break down for you why it even happens, all right? Because there are some things I'm sure you already know, but there are a couple things that a lot of women are not considering. And it's important that you hear this. And be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. Like the video. Anyways, number one is that he actually always cared, but he wasn't aware of the issue. Now, some of y'all may have rolled your eyes at that one, but hear me out. As a coach, I cannot tell you how many times I have sat down with couples, both married and regular boyfriend-girlfriend relationships, where the man was truly, genuinely oblivious to the issues going on. All right? Now, I know a lot of women will say, well, how can that be, especially when in most cases the woman is saying something about it? Yes, she's saying something, but she may not be properly explaining or conveying how important to her this is. And when we say important to the point that by not having this, it could lead to her wanting to step away or be done with the relationship. All right? Now, why does that happen? Well, sometimes we have to realize that the way men and women communicate is not always the same. And when a man talks and what the woman hears is not always in alignment. And when the woman talks and what the man interpreted is not always in alignment. And so we have a bad habit as human beings of not always trying to tap into how that person receives our message, we rather expect that they would grasp our way of communicating it. Okay? And so for a lot of women, especially when you've been with this guy for a while, it's like, how does he not know this? How does he not understand me at this point? But him being a man and him possibly lacking certain skills of comprehension may lead him to not fully grasp what it is you're saying. So I'm going to give an example. I've given this example before in a previous video, but I remember one time that I had a married couple and the wife said, he doesn't spend enough time with me. The only time he touches me is when he wants to have sex. And it's like, I don't feel wanted and valued and things like that. He won't even sit down and watch TV with me. Okay. So I discussed this with the man and I said, listen, she's saying, I explained to her everything she said. She said, and he said, okay, cool. I got it. I'm gonna work on it. A week later, I asked him, okay, what's the progress? What happened? He said, well, I did what you said I need to do. I asked her, she said, oh, it's still nothing's changed. Okay, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. I said, okay, what happened? She said, yeah, okay. He said, well, I sat and watched TV with her. I said, so I'm talking to her now. I'm like, well, yeah, he sat and watched TV with me, but he was on this end of the couch and I was on that end of the couch. So essentially, what the man heard in her request was, watch TV with me. What the woman was trying to communicate was, show me affection. Show me attention. Actually want to be next to me. Okay? And to her, that should have been plain and clear. But to the man, it was not. So when I say he was not aware, what happens is sometimes you have these lingering issues. And that was just one example. But you have these issues that the man doesn't grasp how important this is. Another reason why that can happen real quick is because so many people grow up seeing dysfunctional relationships to where they start to normalize problematic behavior. So if, for example, arguing is something that someone grew up seeing, and let's just say their parents stayed married for 40 years, but arguing all the time. To them, now that we argue in our relationship, it's not a big deal. That's what people do. My parents stayed together for 40 years. They're not going to grasp, but wait a minute, this issue may lead to the end of our relationship. So he doesn't understand that this is affecting you to the point that you're going to start to give up and not care anymore. And so when you do give up, he's like, I don't understand. What's going on? And to you, it's like, are you really that stupid? Technically, yes. and I say, I just mean yes in the sense that he is oblivious. He did not get it. He did not grasp it. So let's not assume, all right, that when the man is not showing care or when he finally wakes up because you stopped, it's a matter of, well, he just doesn't care about you and now he's just trying to act right just to get you back, which we'll discuss that because it does happen. But we do have to consider the fact that sometimes he just did not understand what the problem was. So what's the fix to this real quick before I move on to the next point? So make sure that you are communicating your issues and your concerns very clearly, all right? And I think it's important as a woman that you get as specific as possible when you're expressing what you see as an issue and what you want to see change for things to be corrected, all right? Now, again, some of you may have already done that, great, but I just want to make sure we cross our T's and dot our I's, all right? Before we jump to any conclusions about how this man really felt about you. So make sure you express things clearly to him. Make sure you express things to him at a time that you are calm. So I'm a firm believer in writing things out, writing letters. I think that's the best way to communicate big issues because verbal conversations can go left really fast. People get defensive. People lose track. They get distracted. There's so much that can go wrong with a verbal conversation. I'm not saying it's impossible to reach resolution that way. I just believe that it is much more effective to write it down, allow that person to read it, process it, and then we come back to the table and discuss it, okay? I think that will make it flow a lot better and allow that person to retain and understand more what you're trying to say to them. So let's make sure we take a healthy approach to communication and we express everything. And then if you can say, I've done that, and this man still showed that he didn't care until I stopped, okay, now we got some other issues to explore. So one of those other issues, number 2 on this list, is the reason why he stopped caring, or he started caring when you stopped, is because he misses the attention and validation. Now, let me quickly say this. These issues I'm laying out for you of why this happens, it can occur in the dating stage and it can occur clearly in a relationship, even in a marriage, all right? So I just want to make that clear real quick. But yes, what I have seen with a lot of people is that sometimes the reaction to now actually caring and wanting to make an effort is because they missed how much you were caring before. They missed how much that made them feel good. And they want that security of knowing you still care. And this is going to sound crazy, but even in situations where they really don't plan on being better for you, they really don't plan on being consistent in pouring back into you. They just want to secure the attention and validation. Now, I'm going to give you an example. Don't take offense, okay? But I'm going to give you an example from a woman's side of how this can happen with women as well, just so that you can maybe see it more clearly. So one of the things that I have come across many times is a dynamic where, let's say a couple is married, and while they're married, the man is trying to have sexual relations with his wife, and she is constantly turning him down. I got a headache, the kids, there's every excuse in the book. Bottom line, she really don't like laying down with the man, but she just comes up with reasons and excuses. So she rejects him, right? And then it gets to a point where he stops caring. He stops even trying to have relations with her. And what happens now is, because he's no longer trying, and she now no longer feels desired, even though she didn't want to lay down with him, but she still liked feeling like he wanted to lay down with her. She now finds herself struggling with, she may question herself, is she still looking good, whatever. So now she needs to validate herself. So what does she start to do? She starts to initiate relations with him. All right? Just to kind of make sure it's almost like I still got it. All right? Make sure, okay, he still wants me. And once she gets the validation, guess what she does? Goes back to rejecting him. Goes back to the same thing. And they repeat this cycle over and over again. So I'm giving this example because, again, just to show you, yes, it happens on both sides. But to get back to the man doing it, it's the same thing. It just may be in a different way. It may not be related to, again, the rejection of sexual relations, but people sometimes feed off of your attention and desire for them. And once you take that away, now they react. But let me make something very clear as well before we move forward. Their reaction is not healthy. Meaning, because think about the example I gave you with the woman. She still went back to rejecting him. If this man reacts, but still goes back to nonsense, then this isn't worth it. And I'm saying this isn't worth it because what I want to convey right now is some people use the whole stop caring as a tactic. Some women are told that, oh, okay, pull back from him and stop caring so he can start caring about you. That's not healthy because you're not resolving the real issue or addressing the real issue. All you're getting him to do is react in the moment. This isn't sustainable. So it's like, what are you going to do? Every time he now falls off, you're going to pull back and go through this whole game plan. That's exhausting and it's not worth it. So please understand, do not use this as a tactic. I'm explaining what happens. Yes, by pulling back, you can get that reaction. So I'm not disputing that a woman stopping her care and stopping her attention can get a man to draw, back into her. But it's just not in your best interest. So why even bother? All right, so let's keep this moving. Another reason why he starts caring when you stop caring is because he now realizes the bare minimum is not working. And so essentially, there are some of you who are in or have been in, or God forbid will be in, a relationship with a man who's not really serious about you. And when a man's not really serious about you, he's trying to get more for less. He's trying to give as little effort as possible. And unfortunately, a lot of women have tolerated this. A lot of women have allowed themselves to give, and not receive. And so he will keep that going for as long as possible. And now once you start to pull back or stop caring, he starts to realize, oh, okay, wait a minute. Maybe I got to take her out a little bit more. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I got to give her a few more compliments. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I should watch the kids a little bit more for a few days. You know what I'm saying? I'm just throwing out different things. But the point is, he now realizes, okay, this minimal effort I'm giving is not enough to keep her here, to string this along longer. Okay? That's what it's really about. So now, and this is where you see, okay, so I'll up the ante. I'll do more right now to satisfy her and to get her back to that place of tolerating my mediocrity. All right? And this is important to understand in situations where you got to be honest with yourself. Were you accepting his, excuse my language, half-assed effort? Were you accepting him to give the minimum while you were so busy trying to give the maximum? Were you so blinded in you trying to be the giver and the nurturer? And let me say something about this whole nurturing thing, all right? This is one of those that hit my spirit moments, so we got to talk about it, all right? I see a lot of women, or I've heard a lot of women, use the whole we're natural nurturers to excuse or explain, and I'm going to use the word scapegoat, when they get caught up in situations where they give, and essentially get used and drained and taken advantage of. And I need you to stop doing that. And what I mean by stop doing that, yes, stop being used and taken advantage of, but stop scapegoating being a nurturer as the reason. You didn't find yourself in this situation because you're a nurturer. You found yourself in this situation because you were afraid to accept the reality that this man wasn't for you. You found yourself in this situation because you were afraid to be alone. You found yourself in this situation because you wanted to believe he could be better. You found yourself in this situation because you ignored your intuition. I don't say this to you to judge you or make you feel bad. I say it to you to empower you so you don't make the same mistake. But if you simply make this about you being a nurturer, you won't understand the need to correct it. Because why would I want to correct that good side of me, right? If I make it about something that's so positive as being a nurturer, then I don't understand how I need to make an adjustment. But that wasn't the real reason. You can be a nurturer and keep your eyes open. You can be a nurturer and still draw a line that says, this is unacceptable. You can be a nurturer and still demand respect and him pouring back into you. Do not allow that side of you to be the reason why you think things are going wrong and you end up in these situations and getting used by people. As well as, don't do what some others will do, is because you think it was because you were a nurturer. Well, I'm going to stop nurturing now. That's the key. I'm going to stop being feminine. I'm going to stop being loving. I'm going to stop being nurturing because that's what got me in trouble. No, that's not what got you in trouble. Your selection process is what got you in trouble. And all those other things I mentioned. Now, again, I love you. I say this with absolute love and care and to help you do better. But I had to share that with you because I see it happen far too often. But to get back to the point and to wrap it up, yes, when he sees that that bare minimum is no longer enough, he may step it up for a little while. But again, you really have to be honest with yourself about, is he even capable of being the man that you need? And if he's only doing this for the moment, there is no point in even trying to entertain his current effort. All right, so now we're at number 4. You know, sometimes when I have those hit the spirit moments and I let all that out, it's like I feel this like weight just come off and it's almost like I'm a little tired now. It's like a lot of energy came out of me. But anyways, let me go to number 4. So number 4 is he feels guilty, all right? And so here's the thing. Sometimes men... It's not that he's a bad guy. It's not that he had ill intention. But because he's a good guy at heart, because he's not trying to cause problems in your life, when he sees you start to care, when he sees that maybe you lose interest, maybe because at the source of it, he senses there's a little bit of hurt and disappointment. Guilt may start to kick in because he does not want to be that bad guy. And in him trying not to be the bad guy, he tries to compensate for that by now stepping up in how much he cares or shows effort in the way that you felt was lacking. Okay? And it's a problem because the reality is that for him, he has to recognize what is the real motivation of why you're doing this. And for you, you have to recognize, okay, is he doing this because this is something that's genuinely coming out of him? Like using number 1, where I said he wasn't aware. If he's simply not aware and now he became aware, okay, cool. But if it's coming from guilt, then again, it's not sustainable. It's a momentary thing. It's what's pulling him now and motivating him. But once the guilt subsides, then it's back to the same old, same old. So this one is hard for a woman to decipher. I put it on the list because I want you to know this is a reason why it happens. And shoot, it happens to women too. So I think some of y'all can relate to this, all right? Where you may find yourself in a situation like that. And we all have to be careful with letting guilt be our motivating factor in doing things. But yes, it is something that occurs in you trying to evaluate it. There's no surefire way except to see, again, this is one of those where, okay, you stop caring or you pull back, he starts to step up. I think there's nothing wrong with giving him a chance. I think, though, it's important to ask him, why are you now choosing to do better? What is your reasoning? All right. And it doesn't mean he's going to give you a 100% honest answer or that he even knows how to articulate it. But I do think sometimes that person will tell on themselves in a way that will help you to better understand where they're really coming from. But either way, let's just say the first time you give them the benefit of the doubt. If we find ourselves back to the same nonsense, then we can assume, okay, it's just a matter of this isn't in you. For whatever reason, guilt, or the other things we talked about and some of the other things I'm going to mention, this isn't in you. This isn't going to work. Let's just let this go and move forward. All right. So before I move on to the next point, a lot of people are always asking me about coaching and wanting to hire me, but I get so many requests. It's so overwhelming. There's no way I can sit down with everyone. So what I have for you is the opportunity to join my special coaching program, which is going to teach you so many different things, healing from your past, tapping into your feminine energy, finding your purpose, hearing God more clearly, meeting more quality relationship-minded men, a whole lot of great, amazing things, as well as being able to sit down and have your questions answered by me in these live Q&As. Anyways, it's a bunch of wonderful stuff you're going to enjoy. Join the program today. Click the link in the description or in the comment section, or go to receivingmyblessings.com. All right, so now let's continue. And the fifth reason why he starts to care when you stop is that he actually didn't start caring, he just started manipulating. So we've kind of touched on this in these other various points, but I just want to make it very clear that we're very careful with using the word care, because again, sometimes all he's trying to do is reel you back in. So in the example of the guy doing the bare minimum, he wants you to just step up in the moment to just get you back in, make you happy, shut you up. That's how he looks at it. Let me just shut her up real quick, give her what she wants. Let's get back to normal. And so when you're trying to understand what's going on here and evaluate if he's being a manipulator, again, I know sometimes it can be difficult if you don't give him a chance first to see, does he actually keep this up? But I think the other thing to consider is, how did he even start off with this relationship? Here's the thing. The guy who is serious about you starts off giving real effort. All right. Now, I know some of you, I already hear some of you saying in my head, well, a lot of them start off giving effort and they fall off. There's a lot of different reasons why that happens. We're not going to get into all that. Well, actually, no, we're going to get into that for a second. So listen, sometimes, yes, I would argue that in many cases, when the man starts off giving maximal effort for the first month or 2 months or whatever, it is because he may be genuinely into the woman. And somewhere along the line, things go left. It could be going left because he loses interest, but even though he lost interest in being serious with her, he still wants to engage with her, whether that be sexually or hanging out or whatever. So he sticks around even though he no longer puts forth the same effort. Another thing that happens a lot is he makes full effort. You're not reciprocating full effort as well. He becomes tired of this being a one-sided relationship. And again, he starts to now fall off with his efforts, but he doesn't completely walk away from you because he wants to still enjoy whatever he can get. Those are some reasons why you see that. The manipulator, typically, I'm not saying he never starts off strong just to set you up and then pull the rug out from under you, but typically the manipulator, the game player, he may do a lot with words, but he's not typically doing a lot with actions. And his actions and words typically are not lining up. Again, there's exceptions to every rule, but typically that's what's going on. So when you're trying to understand if this now sudden care when you stop is real or not, ask yourself, was he ever real with you? Was he ever real in this relationship? Because if he was never giving you effort in the beginning of a relationship, if he was never being genuine, if he was never at any point hearing your feelings and addressing them and trying to make corrections, then there's no reason to believe that he magically became the guy who genuinely cares now. But on the flip side, if he was someone that has shown the ability to actually put forth real effort, to care, to communicate, to do the right things to make a relationship successful. But again, as a human being, he may have fallen off track. Not to excuse it, but it happens. This is now we can say, all right, he's built up the credit to give him the benefit of the doubt that this is real care that is occurring right now. So that's why we always have to look at the overall relationship. Also, let me say that in regards to looking at the overall relationship and the history of his behaviors, is sometimes you stop caring, right? And he picks it up in one specific area. But if you take a look at the relationship, he's still falling short in so many other areas. That says to me, it's more likely for him to be the manipulator. Because again, the guy who's genuine is trying to correct anything you bring his way. The manipulator is trying to maybe hone in on an issue or two that he can kind of just work his way through and make better, while he ignores the rest of the stuff. He does not take a well-rounded approach to trying to make you happy and make things better. So you gotta take a step back and evaluate everything so that you can understand where is he really coming from. But yes, sometimes he didn't start caring, he just started to manipulate you. Which now brings me to number 6. Because this is a reason why some people will start to manipulate. And that 6th reason is, he just doesn't want to lose the benefits you provide. Plain and simple. It's not about caring for you. It's not about loving you. It's not about suddenly becoming aware there was a real issue. It's simply, all right, well, I'm just using this as an example. You were cooking for him. You were laying down with him. You were doing all these things, and now you stopped. And he don't like that. And so now he's just working hard to get back the benefits. All right? And again, what's coming to mind right now is that type of guy is just looking for a quick fix. He's not willing to understand the depth of the issue. So this is a guy, perfect example, and this could apply to the manipulator as well. He doesn't want to discuss the issue with you. It's almost like, all right, just tell me what to do real quick so I can shut you up and let's move forward. It's not let's talk. Let me understand. It's not any of that. It's not an openness to resolving things. It's not an openness to resolving other issues. It's kind of, all right, well, you're not having sex with me right now. What do we got to do for that? Like, forget he's not even considering the overall quality of relationship. He's really just honed in on how do I get back that specific thing? Now, let me say this. I do think it's possible that sometimes even a genuine guy can lose sight, and because he wants that one benefit back so bad, can get tunnel vision. I think it's possible. But again, I think anytime a man has a genuine heart for you, there's a greater willingness to hear you out fully, okay? And not be dismissive. Not even just a greater willingness. I just think he will. Unless y'all establish just unhealthy communication in this relationship, which to me, that probably still says he's just not the guy for you anyway. But outside of that, I just think he's going to be willing to talk about things. And so consider that and understand that, yes, sometimes it's all about just the benefits. And so here's one more thing that popped in my brain before I move on to the next point. If he loves you, he's willing to work things out and show an effort even when he's not getting those benefits right away. He's willing to be a little bit more patient with that because he understands there's a process here. So it's almost like, all right, if you say, okay, I'm not ready for us to start doing that right now, but I want to work towards that, he'll be more patient in that. Whereas the guy who's just focused on the benefit it's like, well, why we gotta wait? And why can't be not? Like, he may pressure you, he may overwhelm you. He's not gonna be as considerate or compassionate with what you need in getting things back on track. And now we are at number 7. And the 7th reason that he starts to care when you finally stop is that the threat of losing you finally became real. So here's the unfortunate reality. A lot of men have heard the threats of women claiming, I'm gonna let you go, or I'm not gonna tolerate this, or we're done, whatever, only to see the woman continue to come back or let them back in, things like that. And so it happens to, it gets to a point where the man doesn't take the woman serious, all right? Her words become empty. And that's why you have to be very careful as a woman. Don't say things you don't mean. Don't say things you're not going to back up. Don't say some stuff like, if you do that, I'll never, again, just a random example. If you do that, I'll never cook for you again. And then tomorrow you're cooking for him again after he did it. Now you look like you just be talking. All right. And so when you stop to actually, when you finally get to a point where you stop caring, and he can see that and feel that because your actions have changed, you become so much more detached. You're not making the efforts that you used to make. And he starts to sense, or maybe in some examples, let's say you're married and you're like, all right, I'm done and I want a divorce. And now he's like, oh, snap. And again, for some guys, you just saying you want a divorce, you just saying you want to break up, it's not enough for them to really think, oh, she's serious. It might be when you present him with the papers. It might be when you pack your bags. It might be when you pack his bags and they're outside. As long as this isn't a reoccurring thing where you're always putting his stuff outside, that's when he's like, oh, snap, this is for real. And so this is when he steps up. And so, again, I think it's what I want to convey with this specific point is that you never want someone to think that no matter what they do, you're not going anywhere. I'm a firm believer that if that occurs, your relationship is done. And when I say done, it's in trouble. It will not be what it needs to be. No one should feel like they have a free pass to act a fool in your relationship and you're going to accept it. What someone should believe is that as long as I do my part, you will be here with me. As long as I make effort. Now, please, let's not, people will say you got to be with them through thick and thin, the wedding vows to good and bad, worse and whatever. I forgot all the words. But the point is, people confuse that with people not making an effort. What I mean by that is this. Being through them through thick and thin is, for example, let's say he loses his job. He falls on hard times. I wouldn't want you to simply leave a man because he fell on hard times. But don't confuse falling on hard times and a man who's still trying to figure this out and be resourceful and useful in the household with a man who simply chooses to sit on the couch and do nothing. That's not thick and thin. That's just a man who's not making effort. That's a man who's not serious. That's a man you should not tolerate. Because now, if he is allowed to believe that he can sit there, make no effort to find work, to provide, to be useful in the household, and you will remain with him, well, then he has no reason to step it up anymore. And he has no reason to take your threats serious. And he has no reason to start caring when you claimed you stopped caring. No, he will only start, maybe, when you actually show him you will walk away. But that kind of guy who would allow himself to sit there and do nothing, chances are, aside from what's coming to mind, aside from clinical depression or something like that, which even, you know what? I gotta say this. Even in cases of clinical depression and other issues of that nature, I understand being patient and compassionate with someone who's struggling with something like that. But it again does not give them a free pass to scapegoat the issue and not make an effort to do anything about it. So when someone says to me, oh, my man, and I'm just using this one example, my man's no longer working, but he's depressed, I don't want to leave him, he's struggling. Okay, cool. I understand why you're being patient with him. But he doesn't just get to rest on his depression. My question then becomes, okay, so what is he doing to fix the depression? Is he getting help? Is he going, I'm going to say going for medication only because that's what people do. I personally do not believe in medication. I am not a doctor. I am not giving you medical advice right now. I'm just someone who believes that when we go through things like depression, we can cure it with things like changing our diet, exercise, natural remedies. Again, that's just my personal position. But I know that many people out there, when they go through depression, they go to see someone, they get medicated. At least they're doing something. All right. So going back to that guy, is he even trying to fix it? Because if not, then no, he doesn't get a free pass. So again, yes, some men, until they finally think they're going to lose you, don't ever step up. But if he has to face the threat of losing you to even step up, is he really the guy for you? My thing is this. You expressing to him, and as I mentioned earlier, you have to express yourself effectively in a calm and loving manner. If you've done that and that is not enough to get him to want to step up, that's a problem. That's a problem. Because again, like they said, oh, well, people don't know what they had until it's gone. No, he knows what he had. He didn't think he'd lose you. But he should already be worried about losing a good thing. If he sees you as that, then he should already be willing to step up before he even has to face the reality of possibly losing you. So be sure that you understand that if it cannot be solved through communication and discussing the issues and being clear about what the problems are, then any other reaction later on when he thinks you stop caring is not a sign to continue to work with him, but it's just a clearer sign it's time to let him go. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. Wouldn't it be so nice if you could see a guy that you want, be able to verify if he actually is a good guy, look at his relationship facts, maybe so to speak, right? And